What's going on, 309? It is your boy, Big Game Dre and Abofa, chopping it up, weekly sports radio show, hottest sports radio show in Central Illinois. We're so glad to have you all here. We got a great show for you all today. We got two guests in the studio. Head football coach from Peoria High, Tim Thornton, who is no stranger to the show. He has been on the show before. Coach, appreciate you having us, or appreciate you being with us, excuse me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's a good time every time.
Yeah, anytime, brother. You always welcome. And we got a new person who's never been on the show, but he's no stranger to me, my fellow Richwoods Knight brother, Coach Ben Hammer, who is the head coach at Rock Island High School in the Quad Cities. What's going on, Ham?
I appreciate you having me, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Hey, well, like I joked with you when I was talking to you, man. You always a Knight at heart, regardless if you wherever you coach. You get up coaching for the Bears, you still gonna be a Knight at heart, man.
I hear you. A lot of people don't know it, and it's definitely about to come out. But the last year at Woodruff, I worked for Tim.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. So you guys got a previous connection already. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So how was that experience working under Coach Thornton? Those Woodruff teams were always competitive. Always a lot of points being scored. But how was it working for Coach Thornton? You could say some bad things about him. We won't judge you.
Yeah, tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Keep it 100.
It was great. I definitely will keep it 100 no matter what. We had a great experience. We won a really, really big game early in the season against East Peoria, which I'll never forget. We only called one play the whole game, but sometimes that's the way it is. The very, very next board meeting, I think it was like Tuesday that week, they had already decided that they were going to close the school, but they made it Woodruff. We ran up to the central building or whatever it's called, where administration is, and we're in jerseys and all that stuff. And then they told us the school was going to close. But it was a great experience. One thing that I learned from Tim that I don't ever forget and kind of keep it at the front of our philosophy and the way we do things is to always put the kids first, right? Winning is great. Being recognized for things are great. But what Tim does best is, as hard as his kids work for him, he works for his kids as well to find them opportunities and get them to the next level, put them in jobs, put them in the military, set them up for success after his program. And I think that should be the driving force of all coaches, not just football coaches. So that's the biggest thing that I learned from Tim.
That's 100. That's 100.
Yeah. You must have, Coach Thornton must have slid you 100 before this interview. Like, hey, go ahead and say these nice things about me real quick. No, that's one of the things I've always respected about Coach Thornton and his program, because I know a lot of the young men that have played for him and they've gone on to play football at the next level, whether it's at major Division I level or if that's going to JUCO or another level, but they're able to still go to college and further their education. And that's really what it's about, especially for our young men that come from underrepresented communities. So it's very important. So that's awesome. That's awesome. We appreciate you saying that, Ham, and kind of just sticking with you for a second. Just most of our listeners, they unless you live under a rock, you know who Coach Tim Thornton is and all the great things he's done at Peoria High. But for some of our listeners who might not know who you are, Coach Hammer, just kind of talk about your journey of how you got to become a head football coach at a pretty decent young age when you consider the whole, as far as coaching. How'd you get started in the coaching realm? Maybe some of your playing background. Just give us a recap.
Yeah. So I went to Illinois. Well, I went to Richwoods. Had a great time. We won a whole bunch of games there. Coach Semper, I would definitely consider him one of the greatest influences on my career. The toughness, the oriented that they have in that Richwoods program is something that's still very near and dear to me. And then went to Illinois Wesleyan, played my college ball there, had a great time. We weren't very successful our first couple of years there, but then we won a lot of games our last 2 years there, and that was really fun. First day out of school, actually, I'd known I was going to be a coach since I was probably in the 7th grade. Went to go see Coach Brown at Richwoods. He had been the head coach for, I think, only a couple days. They had moved on from Coach Lang, and they didn't have a job. They asked me to volunteer. It wasn't something I was interested in at the time. I wanted to do coaching as my career. and it, to no fault to the Richwood staff or the Richwood school, no social studies positions, no teachers aid positions, and no paid coaching positions. So me being young and way more hot-headed than I am now, the first thing I thought of is, where can I go to have a chance to beat those guys? So I literally got in the truck and drove down to Woodruff High School and went in and met with Tim, and that's kind of all she wrote. I worked at a couple summer jobs with Adam O'Neill, the defensive coordinator there at the time, and Tim's little brother Danny was a couple years older than me, so I knew kind of who he was too, and that's kind of where it was. We believed in the same stuff when it comes on the field and off the field, and that year was great. Then after that, I kind of looked nationally. I thought I was going to go coach college football, and that wasn't really in the cards. So I moved to North Carolina, was an assistant coach out there for 5 years, then got my shot at being a head coach and made a whole lot of mistakes, but got really, really lucky that the group that came in with me was super talented. And it's amazing how really good players make you a really good coach. And they can kind of help hide mistakes and things like that. And then I come from a really big family. I've got whole bunch of brothers and sisters, stepsisters, half brothers and sisters. And so I kind of started looking to get back. It wasn't on my radar when it happened, but I was on my way home for Christmas one year and got a call out of nowhere from Vic Boblet, who was the coach here 2 coaches ago. He had got my name from Coach Thornton, and came, did the interview thing, and it just made sense. It's the type of place I want to be at, where football is important. Kids can use football as a vehicle to make their life better. And so now this year is my 5th school year and 4th football season here.
No, that's awesome. Coach Thornton is kind of like Greg Pop, just that tree, his disciples are out here, so doing great things. So no, that's awesome. And you guys are doing great things out there. And so you guys are both, head football coaches of major programs. These aren't small schools. You have a lot of moving parts, a lot of players. And that already presents its challenges as it is. And then you throw in the perfect storm of COVID-19. And the challenges that's bringing. So, Coach Thornton, I want to kick it to you first. When COVID-19 hit, and there was still this uncertainty of what the fall was going to look like, when it was the forecast was there was going to be a fall season. How were you maneuvering with your guys and your coaching staff, thinking we're going to play in the fall? And how did you, audit your style as far as one-on-one, practices and doing social distancing and using Zoom technology? How did you navigate that space as if there was going to be a fall season?
So hopefully I don't mess the timeline up on this or the chronology of it, but there's been so many changes. I almost don't remember which one happened in which order, but the first knee-jerk reaction was, okay, what challenges are going to be presented to our kids that they're going to miss out on based on what's being presented to us. So the event that's happening to us right now is saying, all right, we're not going to be able to check in with our kids 4 or 5 times a day like we do with some. They're not going to get that face-to-face. They're not going to get, X, Y, and Z. What can we do right away to kind of squash that a little bit and kind of fill those voids? And so I think we're one of the first in the area to get on the Zoom meetings and get the team Zooms going. And then what I did with my position coaches was make sure that they got position group Zooms going also, so that we could get those more, kind of personal moments addressed and things like that. And, I've been blessed over the years to really have good staff. And I've got guys that, maybe don't hold their own sometimes. Some of them don't hold their own on the field football-wise, but are just tremendous relationship guys. And I feel like sometimes those guys are more important than anybody. And, we got the word out to those guys early that, hey, we know who the ones are that need a little bit extra. Let's make sure we're checking in with them. And, you have an example would be you have a kid that during a normal school day might check in with a coach 5 different times, like one coach 5 different times, or 5 different coaches once a day. And now all of a sudden you go Sunday to Sunday, we're talking to this kid, he's missing 25 check-ins. So if that's something that really keeps him on track, then you know, what's going on in his life right now. And you know, everybody's telling everybody stay away from each other, and we're trying to find ways to safely keep them together. So you know, we just waited for everything to unfold. Every time we got a rule change, we wanted to be the first ones to get out there and say, okay, they said we can meet with 9 people. Let's get 9 on the field. If we got to stagger them all day. And in fact, I think on probably every single step and halfway between each step, I called Coach Hammer and a couple other coaches, and we were on there saying, okay, are we reading this rule the same way? We're allowed to have 9, right? It's 9 exactly, right? And it's got to be the same 9, or it could be different 9, you know. And we're trying to figure out all those things so that we're keeping the kids safe, but we're still giving them everything that they need. And it was amazing the amount of coaches that want to take that time to find that, to be in that circle. You know, when I say Coach Hammer, a bunch of other coaches, it's all the coaches that are doing the same kind of thing. Like, it's all the coaches that are making those differences, and you're seeing those kids go to college and are having success with them on the field and off the field. Those are the same ones that are taking the time to make these phone calls in the middle of the off season, if there ever was a such thing as an off season. So.
Yeah, no, football, we know football's all year round. You know, I know about the 5th quarter. But
I mean, it's all year round, but it can be all year round while you're a basketball player, and it can be all year round while you're a wrestler. But the bottom line is, like, it needs to be all year round. You need to be making yourself better, and it doesn't have to be you're in football weights. Like, we push the 3-sport thing, and we're 100% okay with it. And I'd rather have a kid coached by 3 different coaches competing. I'd rather have a kid competing than just with a weight in his hand. Now, in a perfect world, you find a time for both, and then you're the Kendrick Greens and of the world, and you're the kids that are going on and making a difference at the next level because you know the importance of it. And so when you say all year round, you say it, but it doesn't mean that it's football only all year round.
no, that's good to hear, because I know a lot of coaches don't have that philosophy. If you're a basketball player, you hoop, and you know, I've witnessed, you know, guys, whether that's high school I attended or other high schools, who were penalized because they played other sports and missed open gyms. And so now they couldn't get on the basketball team, or their playing time was affected, and things of
Sure.
that nature. So
well, with this next rule that we've got with our fall contact days, you know, this will be the first time that we've got contact days stacked up where we're not the next sport up. You know what I mean? Usually in the summer when those contact days, football's next sport up. So you kind of lend priority that direction. But we've already had some great conversation with Danny Ruffin. You know, I talked to him just yesterday, and we've hit our schedule, so you can get busy 5 days a week, and you're football one day, basketball the next, football one day, basketball the next, and you're not missing anybody's anything. You're just staying busy, getting work done. So the coaches that have those good relationships in the building. And I know at Ben's school it's even tougher. I mean, we've got about 5 schools that use the weight room. Ben was telling me they're about 18 out of 21 sports are in the weight room getting after it. So, you know, those kind of things. You have those good relationships in the building. It really, really shows for the kids.
yeah, no, that's
on
awesome.
that same note, I mean, just today our varsity lifted this morning at 7 a.m. Our JV and freshmen are coming in at 3, but I've got it on my board right over here. We've got 13 different sports that'll go through our weight room today, which is cool. And then on the multi-sport thing, we're exactly the same. Both the guys I worked for before coming to head coach, Tim, and then Chris Metzger out in North Carolina, pushed the 3-sport, and I think it pays off. Just an example, our center's running cross country, which he's going to have to find some calories to make sure that works out for him. And then both of our guards are playing golf. So those are 3 big dudes on our football team that are trying something different, and I'm happy that they're competing.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So Ben, I'm gonna kick it to you real fast. When you found out that no football is happening in the fall, first, what was your first thought? And then to hear that it wasn't canceled, but it was going to be moved to the spring, what were some of the audibles that you started making?
So kind of right away, the big thing you worry about is canceling the season and not getting to play. Not for us, because we're going to coach for, I mean, hopefully another 20, 30 years, right? I'm going to do it till I die because it's what I like to do. And so you worry about the kids. Selfishly a little bit, we believe that our team next year is as talented as it's been in the history of the school. So right away you kind of have woe is me, and then you got to check that. And this is going to sound like almost a Coach Thornton tape recorded answer. But we do the same exact kind of off the field curriculum to help our guys in decision making. You kind of check yourself or press pause. And we couldn't do anything, right? I'm not in the IHSA. I'm not a doctor that deals with COVID. I'm not anything like that. So we encourage people in our community to social distance, wear our masks, encourage our kids to do the same thing, and then thank the decision makers that we got a season, and we went to controlling our response. And so we got in the weight room. We started drawing out schedules, started figuring out, and they're still figuring out how it affects recruiting. So I don't know that there was a whole bunch of time for a whole lot of emotion or what are we going to do? Or, man, I can't believe we got this raw deal. I mean, it is what it is. You can control your response to get the outcome you want. And the outcome we're looking for is to win the Big Six and make a run and win the state championship. So as far as like feelings or audibles, we did what we needed to do.
That's good context. And so, Coach Thornton, when I think of, traditional football in Illinois, you start practicing and things traditionally in June. You have your summer workout, your summer programs, and things kick off then. So now the way it's going to be set up now, when are you officially allowed to start hosting contact practices? Are we looking at January? Have they give you any guidance on that? What does that look like?
So first off, we got to define the word contact. I think to most people, it means you're going out there and putting pads on and smacking each other around. The IHSA defines contact as us getting, football out and working on football-specific drills. So as far as that form of contact, September 7th, is it? Yeah, September 7th. We're allowed to start that. And basically what September 7th is going to start is like a roughly 2-month period that looks like what your normal summer used to look like. So it's, basketball is going to be able to use it. Other sports going to be able to use it. We're going to be able to use it. And it's going to be those contact days where we can get out with our kids and get after it. So that's the part that I talked about. Danny and I separated, and we're going to go 2 days. He's going to go 2 or 3 days. And we'll get him in the weight room some too. But, those are the days we get to do that. Now that lasts till about Halloween. And then there's like a 2-week break there until the winter sports start, which will be the first group of the contact sports. So you'll have basketball and wrestling go then. So we'll let those sports get started. And then at that point, we'll roll into what would be our normal winter weights. It's just weightlifting sessions. And we'll do that up until February 15th, I believe, which is the first date that we get to start like our season practices. So that would be your traditional August 10th or your traditional August 12th, your old school Hell Week or old school two-a-days. And, we've gotten away from Hell Week because you've had so much time to get your guys ready. But this might be the time where you need to start thinking about, do we need to do something before and after school? Do we need to take advantage of weights in the morning so that we can get film and more longer workouts in the afternoon to make sure that everybody's healthy enough to compete depending on where they're coming from. Like a kid coming off the basketball court is probably going to be in pretty good shape and just got to get him mindset right. But a kid that's coming off the couch that's only been deadlifting and squatting, that kid he's going to need some lungs, and we're going to need to get to work on that in a hurry to make sure that he doesn't put himself in a position where he can injure himself on the field because he's so far out of shape in the third, fourth quarter.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Are you like giving these players their own personal workout plan at home for something that they work out, you or Hammer?
So we had a situation where when we were really shut down, before we got our groups at 9, where our strength coach, man, he's becoming like a local workout hero. But Chip Bates we hired him on, and he's put out some great workouts. He was putting on Chip Away Fitness videos that he would show one example of every workout, and we post it, and then the kids could do that. since we've been back with them, we haven't stopped providing them an opportunity to get in. So our weight room is still open. We still have weightlifting times now. So we can have weight room sessions. So like our weight room be open in about an hour, and they can roll in there and get their lifts in. And Coach Bates is in there with them, knocking it out. And so they're still getting stronger doing that.
Our situation's a little bit different, which is something that I would love to encourage the District 150 schools to move towards. We have sports-specific PE classes here. So, like, we have the whole football team in gym first period. So we get to hit film, walkthroughs, weightlifting, conditioning. And I think that that's really applicable to the kids that want to go into the military, to the kids that want to go play ball at the next level, whether it's basketball, football, volleyball, whatever. And I think that mirrors what life after high school looks like. So it's a great opportunity for our athletes. As far as the shutdown went, it was kind of similar. I think me and Tim worked together to set it up. We put out stuff through Zoom and through huddle messaging and our Google Classroom and things like that, to where they could do the best they could with a book bag with some books in it, or I mean, we use toilet paper, PVC pipe, whatever, so that our kids could get a workout in and stay ready to go. That's also important. I don't know how football specific the workouts were, but for like mental health, get up and get moving, because it's tough, especially you got parents working or you're helping watch little brothers and sisters. I think that finding a time to get a sweat in and a workout in is really beneficial for the kids. So besides that, we're pretty close to similar as far as the timeline goes for the year.
That's a good point. That
y'all thought you were getting two different people for an interview, didn't you?
No, hey, it is all good. I'm loving this. I'm loving this insight. One of the things I think about is, with this, going outside and playing football in Illinois, the way traditionally is it gets hot and then it gets cold. And now with this new season, it's going to be cold and then it's going to get slightly warmer, but it's probably still going to be cold when it's all said and done. And we don't have domes. We're not, we're going to be outside in this. Is there any concern that you all have for your players when you think about trying to adapt to this new, this new arena now of you're going to be outside in the cold from the jump, and let's just get it?
You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
So there are indoor facilities here. Probably the three biggest teams that we compete with in our conference all have indoor facilities. So there was actually one that we were looking at and talking about renting and had started that dialogue. And I don't remember what it's called. It's got a crazy name, but that storm that rolled through here on Monday actually blew it completely to the ground. St. Ambrose has a indoor facility they call the Ambrose Dome. And we were talking about renting that for injury prevention, especially those couple weeks that we talked about, that Tim talked about, the Hell Week or kind of the preseason training camp, just to get our guys into football mode and keep them from getting injured from the weather. So because that was knocked down, we're kind of back to square one, and we're working on that. But the other thing that I worry a lot of people didn't think about is at the end of the winter outside, you have the ice and the water that's been in the ground and the snow that's melted. The word for it's permafrost. I just had a science teacher in here talking to me about it. And I don't think that grass fields are going to last nearly as long as they usually do. And grass fields are usually a little tough. Tim runs up 4,000 yards up and down the Peoria High Stadium, or the Peoria Stadium every year. You add that ice and that water melting to it. I don't know how long those fields are going to hold up or what kind of shape that they're going to be in. So that's a whole nother thing that people are going to have to take into effect. But we put $3.1 million into our stadium, new fence, new turf, new locker rooms, and then painted all the walls. So we're pretty excited about once the games finally roll around, the facility that our kids will get to play in, and that it'll help keep them safe.
We're going to make sure that field stays plenty warm. So we'll make sure we keep it rolling. But no, I think, I worry a little bit about the practice part of it, getting the kids out in the cold repetitively. So I feel like we'll make some adjustments where, maybe you do some things like you stretch indoors, you do some indie things you can control inside. Go outside, do team for an hour, team for a half hour, hour and a half, whatever it takes. Get some of your thing. Make some adjustments from that standpoint. As far as playing the games, by the time these kids get a chance to touch a ball with shoulder pads and a helmet on, it ain't gonna matter what is out there. They're ready to roll. I mean, they'll be on fire. There'll be some crazies out there in short sleeves and no undershirt and whatever, just ready to roll. As far as games, you consider maybe making some extra day games early in the season. Try to take advantage of some sunlight and hope that helps a little bit. And it'll be interesting with it, just getting, like you say, potentially getting warmer as the season going versus the other. We like to put a lot of plays in a football game, and the thought of tempo, going late into the season when it starts to get warm a little bit gets a little exciting. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely gonna have its pros and cons, and that was one of the things I used to hate about football is it was all good August, September, October. But as soon as that late October hit, you get a little rain on you too. Oh man, yeah, no, but I wasn't as tough as you guys, so I'm exposing myself.
Those August games, the first kickoff when it's 97, and you got to down block a guy at 70 times in a game. That's not easy either.
It's not.
No.
Real quick, as far as gameplay and everything goes, is there any preventative or extra measures you guys are taking as far as COVID goes?
For like once the games actually start?
No, like coming in, because right now the NBA and everything has a bubble and they're doing temperatures and everything like that. Are you guys taking any extra measures like that as far as when gameplay comes?
Well, I'm not sure. I know. So as far as like we've got team masks already, and we bought the kind that I think Hammer and I both did that you'll be able to wear. Yeah, we got the same ones. You'll be able to wear under a helmet if you want to, and they'll come up to here, and they won't affect the way your helmet fits or anything like that. So the safety won't be affected as an issue. We'll have to do a bunch different with our water system. We'll probably have to switch to cups and have someone in charge of it instead of having the six nozzle sprayer that everybody can grab and use and the whole time.
Right.
So there'll be some adjustments like that. The rest of it, I think, is kind of out of our hands to an extent. Like we make adjustments in meetings. And things like that. We'll make adjustments. And our biggest one is probably the adjustment in the locker room as far as restricting the number of people that can use the locker room at a time. That's never been an issue. Normally you got guys in there shoulder to shoulder getting ready. And now it's like, okay, 12 at a time. When one comes out, next one can go in. We're not going to hang out in there like we usually do, which kind of sucks because that's a huge, bonding
right
thing.
That's the thing in the locker room,
music and everything like that. We've got kind of a pregame ritual that we'll use, and we'll just have to say, hey, everybody's got to have their mask for it because we're all going to be in the locker room with, ready to roll for that. And so that's not something we're going to change. Meek Mill's got to be a part of us leaving the locker room. So I don't know. I can't think of any others, Hammer.
So for the games, you kind of covered it. I'm sure the state will come out with guidelines as well. When we first got to go back to workouts, there could only be 10 people there. So you heard Tim say the 9 kids and a coach. Now those numbers are up to 50. The one thing that, and I think it's a state rule, we've got like books, so that this is just our varsity one right here, that we have every kid sign in and log their temperature and do a questionnaire every time we use the weight room or do anything team related, so we can contact trace if somebody does get sick. We've had athletes get sick, but we've had 0 instances in our football program, which is something that we've taken a lot of pride in thus far. We already have water bottles for every single one of our athletes, separate ones, and that's not just a football thing. We have an outstanding athletic director in Michelle Lillis, and so as soon as we got back to work, and she bought everybody a water bottle, everybody's names printed on it. Our athletic trainer keeps track of them. So that's a pretty cool deal too. And we'll probably just have everybody bring their water bottles to the games and have the managers keep up with them. I think that's it. Oh, we don't. The other thing we do, the kids don't rotate lifting partners ever. They always lift in the same group of 3 because even within that group of 50, you don't really want to cross kids as much as you can.
No, that's great context. And, I think right now, as, all the schools right now, for the most part, virtual, and so is there any concern that you all will put all these procedures in and we get to January and they say, I mean, is there any concern of that? And, as a coach, I mean, how do you manage the expectations of your players, the parents? I'm sure you getting those phone calls that,
Sure.
from the angry mom. I mean, how are you managing those expectations that you could do all this and you could get to January and it could all be potentially for nothing?
And let me add on to the end of that question real quick, because I had something on the line to that. As far as all that goes, then how do you prepare for your seniors?
Yeah. So I don't mind taking that one, but so we can only prepare for what we can control and what what happens down our path, right? And so when you look at it, you say, okay, what do we have to get out of this for our kids? Well, and the first question you say, Abofa, is what do we got to do for our seniors? And the seniors have already been put in a position by the season being moved to after signing day, right? That for the seniors that don't have any film, like that's an issue already. All right, so that's the first thing that we got to tackle. The best example I can think of to put in perspective is, we've got a 6'4" quarterback that sat behind an all-stater last year that has no film or very little film against a starting team. And so for him, this is super important. How do we get him, the film to go do that? So we're going to use some of our contact days to create skill videos that can be sent to colleges. Coach Hammer, myself, and probably 3 or 4 other coaches, we all reached out to different colleges across the country, said, what are you guys looking for? What do you want to see? What kind of drills? What's important? So it's not just some guy off to the side filming you running around jumping. Like it's going to be some sport specific stuff. They want to see break for this. They want to see footwork for every position. They want to see can I see quarterback arm angles and things of that nature, hand placement and things like that. So if you couple it with just a little bit of film that you have, but then you have the sport specific, maybe you're filming 40s, you're filming vertical jumps, you're filming combine type things. You put that kind of stuff together for those seniors, that's huge for them. So we're going to do some of those things. And then as far as talking to the parents, like I wouldn't say we've had any angry parents, more nervous or scared. I tell the parents every year when they're dealing with recruiting, the setup is horrible if you're a parent. Right? So if you're a parent, you're going through this once, maybe twice in your life ever. This recruiting coach that you're on the other line with goes through this 7, 8, 10, 12 times a year, every single year. So you might have a guy on the line that's done this 100 times while you're going through it your first time. I don't care what the topic is. That's a huge disadvantage. So, I just tell the parents the same thing I tell them any year. Make sure you have all the facts. If you have questions, wear me out. This is what I'm here for. I was a recruiting coordinator in college. I've done this before. I know what you need to be saying, the questions you need to be asking, those kinds of things. So, that's where we're at with it.
We're kind of the same deal. We're going to have, for those 20 contact days, a couple days I open 7-on-7 because we didn't get to do that during the summer. Our kids like it. We find value in it, especially for our skill players. We're going to have a couple full team practices, and then we are also going to film skill videos to send out, kind of like Tim's quarterback. We've got a receiver that we're really excited about and we think is really good. But as a sophomore, he played varsity and has some film from that. As a junior, he had a season-ending injury at Western team camp last year, and so he doesn't have a whole lot of film. So we're kind of working on that. The other thing that I think becomes more important than ever before for those seniors, and you just got to hammer it home to them the best you can, is academics, the way you look someone in the eye, the way you shake someone's hand, being accountable, what you're like on social media, all those other things that have always played a role, but it was maybe a smaller role, I think becomes personified, right? Do you miss school? Are you late to classes? Do you get kicked out of classes? I think they become a bigger deal with everybody not having that senior tape.
Yeah, I agree. And I think these college coaches, they realize more than ever that they can't afford to make a mistake on a recruit because of the intangible. So they're going to be looking at all those things because there might not be the tape that's there. So they're going to want those high character guys. So I think you make a great point. I've been noticing that some players have been making decisions to transfer out of state. Some players have been nervous that they don't know if a season is going to occur, so they're making moves. Some players are going to states where they can graduate early, and so they can enroll in college early as well too. What are your thoughts on that? Players making that type of decision, and ultimately, do you think that that puts you all here in Illinois and at a disadvantage that you could be losing some players that are really good, and if this thing continues, you might lose them to other states?
I think that this is the topic that over the last 5 months, me and Tim have talked the most about, because for both of us, it's a little bit non-traditional approach. Well, a lot of what we both do is a non-traditional approach. We actually talked a lot about, and I hope I'm not overstepping by saying this, about should we help kids find spots, because it is a disadvantage in that the season's being played after National Signing Day. And like I said when we started the interview, something I appreciated and learned from Tim right away off the jump is that it's about the kids, man. They've only got the 4 years. It's not about us as adults. It's not even about our teams or our schools for the way we do it. It's about the specific kids. And so if we really felt like it was a better situation for them to go try and get a fall season somewhere else, that we were going to help the kids get out and leave and do what was best for them. But kind of as the IHSA released information, it was going to be tough to do both. And specifically for us, because we're up here in the Quad Cities, going to Iowa, establishing eligibility is tough, and they could be hit with penalties. So in the end, we kind of, at Rock Island, we explained to the kids all the options, what was on the table, all the rules. And we asked our kids that if they felt like transferring was what was in their best interest, to come talk to our staff. We had 4 kids who did come talk to us, laid everything out on the table, told them the places in the area, private and public, that they could go and probably play, the different offenses that were run, the different defenses that were run. And at the end, all 4 of those families chose to stay here, which is great news for our team, but it kind of even drives more the need for us as a coaching staff to do our due diligence and really make sure that that kid has the opportunity that they're comfortable with after they leave our school.
That's great context. You want to add anything to that, Coach Thornton?
No, I think we're mostly right on with it. I think the one thing that that I could probably add is we talked to our kids about the important, like the deciding factor on this had to be that, let's just use Texas because, it's Texas football, but let's say you got relative down in Texas. If you transfer down to Texas and you're eligible to play there, then everything's good. But if something happens and you play down there and they deem you ineligible for a year, and that's their rule, then that penalty comes with you when you come back. And so even if you come back in the fall, even if you went down there and if they have a rule that says you attempt to play, but you're deemed ineligible, then when you transfer back, it comes with you. So we just, made sure everybody knew the rules. If it was the best situation for them and I lost a kid over it, I'm not going to lose a minute of sleep over that. Go do what you got to do. But if I lost a kid because he got bad information, it would drive me crazy. So we're just making sure the kids were informed and making educated decisions and not knee-jerk reactions. And that was it.
No, that's great. And I appreciate you all just being authentic and transparent with those kids and those families. They're very blessed to have you all. We're getting to the tail end here soon, but I just want to ask a couple more questions. I noticed that college football and I know you all have relationships with different college coaches, but different conferences are doing different things. The Big Ten is moving their season, it sounds like. But the Big 12 is still trying to have a fall season. Some other conferences as well are still trying to make it happen. You have Division II and Division III programs canceling their seasons, moving their seasons. What are each of your thoughts on that? Because, just from the outside looking in, I do have a little problem with there's not consistency there. I think that kind of puts some players at a disadvantage, especially if your season's washed. But this conference over here, they're still able to play, and then it's not like that player can go transfer from University of Iowa and can go down to University of Oklahoma potentially without a penalty, and so that's not fair as well too. So what are your thoughts on just the lack of consistency that's within college sports right now, as some teams are able to play and some teams aren't going to be able to play?
I don't know that I have a huge problem with the consistency part of it. I think I kind of applaud the NCAA for letting the conferences make those decisions. I maybe would have liked to seen that a little bit in high school, just to kind of put that in their boat. But I still think that the teams that are trying to do this in the spring, I think it's going to work out fine with them. If as long as they're getting it in the spring, I think that's all right. I think if it gets postponed to the spring and then it gets shut down, then that's where it really gets that's when it really gets ugly. But selfishly, I would like at least one conference to get out there, get through it, and show that it can be handled all right. And if it does, then that provides a bunch of hope for the rest of the country, I think. At the high school level, that's been pushed back to the spring, that says, all right, here's how we did it, and these are some of the things we really did well, and these are some of the things we did poorly and should have done better. And I was really hoping that the IHSA gave us that chance in the fall to make a run at it and then say, okay, we need to back this down, but at least we got it started. We saw some of the things that caused us to shut this down. Now when we move it to the spring, now we know what we need to look for. Now we know which procedures work really well, things of that nature. But, I don't know. I don't feel super strongly about it, but that's where I'm at.
I don't feel super strongly about it either way, but if I do have a feeling, I'm kind of the other way. I would have loved to see some consistency from the NCAA, just because they are the quote unquote leadership of the NCAA. So I would have liked to have seen kind of in the similar ways you're seeing in the pro sports, a uniform. This is the way the NHL is going to do it. This is the way the NBA, MLB, all that stuff, and kind of do it that way. But again, I don't feel really strongly. What we're more worried about is how is schools moving to the spring, or the NCAA granting another year of eligibility. How does that affect our kids? I love watching college football. I love hanging out and getting on the grill or whatever, kind of as a reprieve on Saturday evenings. But at the same time, my job, what I love to do, every hobby I have except for a little bit of golf, revolves around our program and building our program. So really the feelings, the research, the concerns with all that is how it's going to affect our kids, and specifically our leaving seniors.
No, that's great. I appreciate you all's feedback on that. And the last question I want to ask you all is, if we think about the NFL, I think the NFL right now has just kind of been sitting back, watching what the MLB is going to be been doing, watching what the NBA has been doing. Hasn't really said too much about, their protocols and what their vision is. They're still acting like there's going to be a season this fall. If you had a magic 8 ball, what are your thoughts on the upcoming NFL season for the fall? Do you think that they try to do it and it gets shut down? Do you think they'll end up having to move the NFL season ultimately, and they're just kind of prolonging the inevitable? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Anytime people ask me specific stuff about COVID, I'm not a doctor. I think doctors should make those decisions. I do think that the NBA knocked it out of the park with their model. I would love to see maybe 2 or 3 bubbles of conference. Maybe you do it by the division and do it that way. I think there are major cities along with the XFL cities and big college venues, with colleges moving to the spring. that you could easily do the bubble kind of model. I think baseball is struggling right now with not doing it. And I mean, I grew up a Cardinals fan. I'm not really a big baseball guy now besides high school players that we've had go on and play in the pros. We had a real successful team at the last place I was an assistant coach. I think they're struggling with not having a bubble set up. So I think that's the way to do it. I do think that there's too much money involved in the NFL to where they're going to find a way to play.
That was going to be my biggest chip in was the money part. I think money definitely drives it. And if they can find a way to, they'll spend every dime they need to spend to keep those guys safe. If they can, keep them as isolated as possible just to get that, they don't need the ticket sales. They get all the money they're going to get off the TV and the advertisements and things like that. They'll be just as happy with all that. And the only losers in the deal will be the people that work at the stadium. I agree. They're definitely going to make a run at it.
Yeah, and the selfish Bear fan in me, I want to see my Bears play on Sunday.
I just need to see LaKale get that shot, baby.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
LaKale and Sherrick, and we got some, so we trying to see this, and also I'm always this could be our year, you know what I mean, and so I hope it is, and I believe in Mitch. I'm believing in number 10. So let's make it roll. Let's make it roll. But fellas, I appreciate you all joining us on the Chopping It Up Weekly Sports Radio Show, hottest sports radio show in Central Illinois. Appreciate you all and wish you nothing but the best of luck with your seasons and juggling everything that you all are doing. But I can confidently say that these young men, they have the right guys in charge right now leading them, and you guys are definitely doing your thing. If you all have any social media or anything that you want to shout out, if any of our listeners want to kind of keep up with you all and your team, you can definitely shout that out. Ben, if you want to throw your social media out there, and then Coach Thornton you can follow.
I think I'm at Coach_Hammer on Twitter. And I also do a lot with USA Football. Our national team stuff is at USNFT. And any of the Peoria area kids or anybody who ends up seeing this, as far as skill development, the U.S. national team and Coach Thornton's son has taken part in it. In terms of skill development, I think those camps are second to none. So I will plug that real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, awesome. Sounds good. Where can I catch up with you at, Coach Thornton?
You can get me at Peoria Football on Twitter and just Tim Thornton on Facebook.
Cool. Sounds good. And Abofa, you already know, where can they find you at, brother? You everywhere.
I've been ABOFA, man.
Make sure you tune in to him and tell him the times of your morning show that you got going on now, man. I love listening to you at work.
Did I catch you at 10 the other day?
You said what?
Did I catch you at 10 the other day? 10 a.m.?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm 9 to 11 Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just keep that dial on Strictly Hip Hop 90.7, and we got you, in the words of the great DJ Lavish. Well, fellas, y'all take care. Let us know. We'll love to have you come back here soon, maybe for the season kicks off in the spring, and wish you nothing but the best of luck in the future season.
Thanks,
All right, appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. Take care. Peace.
Yep.